it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
And we're back. Guys should be able to hear me now. Some technical issues to start the podcast, which is fantastic. Fantastic way to start the podcast. And there was me giving out about the fact that I look so tired, because I am tired. I was doing nothing but working at the moment. And as we come up to Christmas, which is a particularly busy time for me, but I'm looking forward to this Manchester United game being a release. Anyway, that's what I basically all that you missed. That's all that you missed was me giving out about my tired appearance. And obviously my system must be tired as well, because it wouldn't allow me to select my my microphone stream. Anyway, here we are. Aston Villa versus Manchester United in a game that I suppose, look, it's obviously, look, it's not been one of those happier games for Aston Villa fans. You know, there's a lot. Aston Villa and Manchester United have essentially been tied together since the start of the Premier League. The sliding doors moment and not winning it in the inaugural season. And then, well, not in 92. And then moving on, then I suppose throughout the course of the years, just the fact that they don't beat Manchester United, even last year, just the residual kind of hangover and dark cloud that last year kind of left for 2.5 months after after Aston Villa couldn't beat a poor Manchester United team to get into the Champions League. It's madness how much of a bogey team they are for us. But I hope and I pray and I expect and I want all of that to end tomorrow, because I think that Aston Villa have a very, very good chance of doing that. The way we're playing with our togetherness at the moment, the fact that Manchester United will have quite a number of players out and not available for them tomorrow, specifically in defence. I'm really hopeful that Aston Villa will be able to go in our brilliant run of home form. We'll be able to go and we'll be able to we'll be able to put Manchester United to the sword, because as Unai Emery said, you know, the record is it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary because we've not been that bad a team, and we're not that bad a team to have that bad a record against Manchester United. And as I say, Unai Emery came in and beat them on his very first game that he had managed Aston Villa. And then, you know, it's this is one of the ones that we really need to win, I think. And that we can go and win against Manchester United tomorrow. Paddy is over at it. I wish I was over there with him. He's currently in the Christmas market, I think, at the moment. Or he was earlier with a stein of beer the size of his torso. And he was slugging out of it. So he's having a great time for himself over in Birmingham. I see that the new developments with regards to the warehouse, there's going to be like a soft opening or partial opening in the warehouse tomorrow in around that side down by the north stand. It actually looks really good. Been sent a lot of videos today. Paddy is over there, and also Ronan Ward, who you guys might see on in the comments for a lot of the podcasts we do, are over there, and Ronan sent me quite a lot of videos of it. It looks really clean. It looks really well developed. It looks really nice, the warehouse project, and also kind of that kind of concourse area that they will have there now beside the Lion statue. That looks like it's going to be primed for tomorrow for some the fan area, and it looks pretty cool. I must say, it looks pretty cool. It looks nice, and it's good to see that regeneration going into that part of the stand and that area as well. Obviously, you know, change isn't for everybody, but for me, I think it looks absolutely fantastic, and it's going to bring a new kind of vibrancy, I suppose, towards to that side of the that side of the stadium. And we'll see how it works out tomorrow. I'm sure that we might even get to see Paddy out there. He might even do the team sheet tantrum from there if he's not in the lower halt at that stage. But yeah, as I was saying, this Manchester United Villa game tomorrow is very pivotal. It's one of those ones, I think, you know, like looking at the way the league table is at the moment, Chelsea drawing today, very, very big result for Aston Villa. We're currently doing the podcast, or I'm currently doing the stream when currently doing the stream when Crystal Palace are playing, and I'm just going to check the score. If anybody knows the score, you can pop it up there, but I should be able to check it here just so I can see it. It's 1-0 to Leeds. Again, the reason I checked that is it's great. It's great to like they're great results for Aston Villa, but they're only great results if we go and beat Manchester United. Like Leeds are 1-0 up against Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace, obviously in those the top 5 places. Chelsea drawing today as well. A win tomorrow keeps those buffer zones going, keeps us 7 points above Liverpool as we go in towards this Christmas period. And a win tomorrow is everything. It's absolutely everything. Another mate of mine, Noel Connaughton, you'll probably see him pop up in the comments as well in every podcast. Noel's been saying for the last 6 weeks, all this is great, but nothing matters other than beating Manchester United on the 21st. And he's actually, he's right, because it's come to that now, that beating Manchester United on the 21st, again, is another massive carrot for Aston Villa, just like it was in the last day of the season last year. And we didn't do it last game of the season last year. And I'd imagine there's a residual fucking angst and anger and pissed offness, I think, within the Aston Villa team about not winning that game. And not even drawing that game. A draw would have gotten us into the Champions League. But about not getting the result we needed to. And tomorrow needs to be better. Tomorrow needs to be bigger. And tomorrow Aston Villa needs to capitalise on the fact that Amad Diallo is not going to be there. They need to capitalise on the fact that Mbeumo isn't there. Mazraoui isn't going to be there. De Ligt isn't going to be there. Maguire isn't going to be there. Casemiro isn't going to be there. They're going to need to capitalise on the fact that it's going to be an 18-year-old in Euro, another 19-year-old, I think it is, Aiden Heaven in there, and then Luke Shaw, who isn't the centre half. That's probably going to be their back three, you know? And it's that's something we just have to take advantage of. We just have to. They've only kept one clean sheet, I think, in the Premier League this year as well, which is another big one for us. You know, which really means if we're tight at the back and we don't give away goals, and we can nick a 1-0 win here, that's brilliant. You know, that's 3 points. I genuinely don't care. There is no style points given out for this game tomorrow. Tomorrow's all about functionality, and tomorrow's all about just going and getting that win, breaking the hoodoo, breaking the hex. Not even breaking the hoodoo or the hex, because we've beaten them. When we've beaten them, you know, it's been at home, and I'm expecting us to beat them at home. But what I'm talking about here is beating the hoodoo and breaking the hex with regards to beating them when we bloody need to. Beating them when there's stakes. There's high stakes up there. Beating any team. And I know that's facetious when I say that, but like, it's just time of year and stuff like that. Beating Sheffield United would have gotten us to the top of the league, but beating Manchester United here will keep us with that massive buffer zone. Massive buffer zone we've built up, and it is great work this team has done, and it will continue to be great work this team will do should we go and beat Manchester United, because they're not a happy camp at the moment. They're probably going to be forced to start Kobbie Mainoo in there, and when I say that, it's not because of the way that he's a bad player or anything, but his brother's wearing free Kobbie Mainoo t-shirts. Like, there's an issue there. He's somebody who wants to leave the club. They're going to have 2 wing backs in Diego Dallo, who's a good player, Patrick Dorgo, who's a player who I still think hasn't hit his heights yet, and I don't know will he at Manchester United. They're still going to have Mateus Cunha. They're going to have Mason Mount, and they're going to probably start with Xerxes up top. But again, Aston Villa should be able to, we should be able to get a lot of chances against this team. We should be able to play in behind those 2 fullbacks. And I know a lot of people say we don't do well against 3 at the back, but I disagree with that. I think that it depends on who we're playing, and it depends on what team we're playing. It depends on the level of the defenders. And genuinely, while Lenny Yoro could eventually end up to be one of the best defenders in the world, because that's the trajectory people think that he was on prior to signing for Manchester United, he's still a young player. He's still young, and so is Aidan Heaven, and Luke Shaw is not a centre half. It's just like, that's the way. And our goalkeeper, another guy who has all the potential in the world, but has he been really reliable this year? If you watch that 4-4 that they had, arguably there's a couple of those shots that could have been saved. You know, and so I want us to create chances tomorrow. I want us to be ruthless and go for the jugular. But at the same time, again, if a ball goes in off John McGinn's arse and we win 1-0, I will be the happiest man in the Northern Hemisphere tomorrow with 3 points. And I genuinely will be, because I think it's a huge one. I think it's it really is big. It really is big. And I've often gotten, over the last 6-7 weeks, people have sent me messages laughing at me going, "Oh, is this another big game? Is it?" And it is another big game. This is another big game, but they've all been big games because as we've been winning, we've been creating buffer zones. We've been climbing the league. We've been ironcladding our credentials, I suppose, for Champions League football. Talk about the league if you guys want, but we've been ironcladding our credentials for Champions League football. Arsenal were 1-0 up against Everton. I don't know what the score is in that. Pop it in the comments if any of you guys know. But they've obviously leapfrogged Man City again. They would have gone to 39 points. Man City on 37. We want to win this to go on to 36 points. Putting on our own oxygen mask first, getting as high as we possibly can, and just keeping that train rolling on. Not to mention the 10 victories in a row, which will be the first time that an Aston Villa manager has done it since George Ramsey. And not to mention just the good feeling we would have going into Christmas, having another 7-day break, 6-day break, 7-day break, whatever it is, then having to play Chelsea, who've coming off the back of a 2-2 draw. Yes, they did come back from 2 goals down, but their manager gets sent off. He won't be on the sideline. I don't know if that makes a massive difference anymore in the game of football, but with all the communication ability that we have nowadays. But it all stems from beating Manchester United, just like it all stemmed from beating West Ham, just like it all stemmed from beating Brighton, and just like it all stemmed from beating all the other teams that we've done on this incredible run that we've been in the league. You don't get to the 20th of December being 7 points ahead of Liverpool, looking at Crystal Palace down 1-0 down 1-0 to Leeds, if they're still down 1-0 to Leeds at the moment, and then going, this is a brilliant result, and this will catapult us to what 9 points ahead of Crystal Palace, I think, at that stage, if that was to stay the same way. And again, creating those buffer zones to 5th place is all I'm worried about at this moment in time. And that's what it comes to. It's all about togetherness. Like, you guys might have watched, I don't know if you did watch Spurs and Liverpool today. I watched it. And to be honest with you, I'm so glad that we don't have, like, both of those team dynamics look fractured. And from the point of view of their brilliant collection of footballers, like some incredible footballers there. Like, there are a lot of footballers that will waltz into our team. Just on the caliber, and in a vacuum, on the caliber of footballer they are, the quality of footballer they are, they absolutely would. But there's a lot to be said for the team dynamic, and there's times there like Frimpong comes on, Jeremy Frimpong comes on, and he has a generational head loss. It wasn't because he got a tiny bit of blood on his lip. Christian Romero arguably was at fault for everything for Spurs in that game. Really, really great footballers, really good footballers. But it's the top 6 inches is letting them down. The top 6 inches let down many's a good footballer over the last 2 or 3 years that have played for Manchester United. We've been better footballers than they've ever showed playing for Manchester United, except obviously when they play against Aston Villa, because they do. And what we need to do is we need to keep those top 6 inches top 6 inches up here clear tomorrow. We need to keep them focused, and we need to keep them, really kind of nailed on towards the key goal, which is the turkey and ham will taste nicer, and the roast potatoes and the sprouts and everything will taste infinitely nicer with 3 points versus Manchester United. You'd be able to eat the Christmas dinner dry with no gravy on it if you go and you beat Manchester United. And that's the carrot. If you're going back to my food analogies, that is the carrot tomorrow, and it needs to happen. And that's the beauty about our team, because our team does. Outside, I suppose, really, outside Emi Martinez, we don't seem to have any kind of, like, real kind of head the balls on our team. As in, and we went through this, myself and Paddy went through this in the podcast. We were saying, like, our Villa, the good guys. And we don't have anybody who kind of really massively loses their head. Like in that game between Spurs and Liverpool, Alexis McAllister lost the head a couple of times. Romero, as we mentioned, Richarlison tends to lose the head. Frimpong had a head last moment. There was situations like that. We need to keep calm tomorrow. We need to make sure that the fortress stays the fortress. We need to be aware that they might be coming for a point tomorrow, and that's fine. Their manager is looking for this progression. They're in 8th place. They're on 26 points. I think they've only lost 1 in their last 6 games, which was to Everton. But saying that, they've drawn, I think, 2 of their last 6 as well. So they're getting better. They're getting more resolute, and they want to be resolute at digging in and getting a point. But we need to be ruthless and like, there's a lot that, like, if Ollie Watkins starts up top tomorrow, there's a lot on him. He needs to, like when I talk about ruthlessness against Manchester United, those goals need to go in. Those shots need to go in. If it's Marlon, those shots need to go in, regardless of who it is. If we get a free kick, there's no micking around. You put the person over the ball who's the best free kick taker. I know you could probably take your pick between Digne, Buendia, and Rodgers in some of the goals we scored recently. I know Digne pinged one in against them in Unai Emery's first game. But that's it. And that's the big thing here. We need to keep the collective that we have here. And these players, to be honest with you, if those players, if those 20 or 23 or whoever is going to be in the match team squad tomorrow, if they've been watching that game tonight between Liverpool and Spurs, teams who perennial top 6, in Spurs' case, coming off being champions of England, and you see that lack of togetherness, that's the strength our team has, is the togetherness within our team, is the fact that we've come through the adversity, absolutely burst through the barrier of adversity, and are now looking at it and going, that adversity, which was a weakness at the start, that cloud after losing to Manchester United last day of the season, the uncertainty that brought from a financial point of view, also the uncertainty that brought about players in, players out point of view, that's been blown apart. The team has come together. It's healed way quicker than Spurs have healed, way quicker than Liverpool have healed. You would have to say, based on results. And his train is now going in one direction, and it has to keep on going past that, straight through the train station of Manchester United, and not stop there, because That's another huge mental hurdle for this team to get over. And you get over those little mental hurdles, those little pieces, incrementally throughout the course of the season. And that's what drives you on to do extraordinary things. And extraordinary things for this team would be finishing in the top 4. It just would, because of the financial constraints, because of the players that have needed to be sold over the last 2 years. Arguably for me, and I've said it since the start of the seasons, if Unai Emery was to get Champions League with this current squad, not that there's a bad player, I don't think, in the whole squad. If Unai Emery was to get Champions League with this squad, I think it would be up there. It would be right up there with like performances of the season. And it's easy to say that it's not, because, you look at it and you go, Boubacar Kamara, class player. Pau Torres, brilliant player. The world's number 1 in goals. It's not that. It's about the fact that he's had to go to the well with these guys for the whole lot of his Aston Villa tenure. And, you talk about the difficult second album. Well, Unai Emery is on his difficult third album at the moment. He's on his difficult third album. Well, actually, realistically, he's on his difficult fourth album, I suppose. Third and a half album. And that's really tough. That's really tough to do, to keep going to the well, to reinvent, to get a team together. People were talking about at the start of the season, are they sick of listening to Unai Emery? Are they sick of being in 2 and 3 hour video meetings? That was never the case. They were never sick of being in those meetings. That just wasn't the case. It never was. A cursory look at any one of the players there and their character would tell you that is not the case. What was the case, though, was that they were suffering from, maybe a small bit of stagnation. They felt it themselves. They were tired. It's been reinvented. It's been reinvented through tactical tweaks. It's been reinvented through mental toughness. It's been reinvented through cohesion, chemistry, togetherness. All brought around by extremely, extremely strong-minded, and you would have to think incredibly positive and personable leadership group on the field. And I don't know, I can't remember what that leadership group is. I would imagine it's Ezri Konsa. I would imagine it's John McGinn. I would imagine it's Yuri Tielemans. I would imagine it's Luca Dean. I would imagine it's maybe not Martinez anymore, but it was Martinez before. You would also have Tyrone Mings in there. None of those are going to be up for the Ballon d'Or. None of those would. I would go so far as to say there isn't one player I've named there that will be, which is a shame, that no matter how well Aston Villa play this year, even if they win the league, I would imagine none of those players will get in the team of the league, the team of the year in the Premier League this year. But it doesn't matter. They don't need to. You don't need to be the best player in the league. You don't need to have a team of the best player in the league, best players in the league. You need to have a team that play like the best team in the league. And that's my philosophical piece on it, because I watched 2 teams today in Spurs and Liverpool that haven't found that yet. They will find it. If they do find it, I think they've got 2 good managers who will get that togetherness together. If they get that togetherness together, they will click and they will start firing. But while they're not, that's when Villa go and they play against Manchester United, who are beginning to find that themselves, that togetherness. AFCON came at a bad time for them. Beginning to find a small bit of togetherness, that Man United team. Now is where we go. We use our strength to diminish what they're hoping that their strength will be, as in that togetherness. And we have to go and beat them tomorrow. There is no, like, at the risk of sounding like Kevin Keegan, I would love it if we beat him, because we all know how that ended when Kevin Keegan went on that rant. But I think that it's a fair cop that Villa will be going there and expecting to get a result tomorrow, expecting to keep that brilliant, brilliant home form. Only losing there once, I think, once in the league in 2025? There's a lot to play for Aston Villa tomorrow. I'm going to come to some of your comments there. A lot of comments telling me that you couldn't hear me, which is my fault. I do apologize. Kevin Genius says, massive arrogance from United fans of various podcasts. Their mistake is their banking and their superb record at Villa Park. Not tomorrow, guys. I absolutely hope it is not tomorrow. Mark says 2 further points ahead of 4th place at the end of tomorrow, lads and lasses. That would be absolutely brilliant. Like, as I say, it's about creating buffer zones for me at the moment. The media can do all they want, and I've always been that way. I've been on TalkSport a couple of times over the last couple of weeks, and every time I've been asked, "Are we in the title race?" and every time I've said, "We're building buffer zones. We're building buffer zones between us and fifth place, and that's the objective for Aston Villa. And if you can continue to do that, if you can continue to just to widen those margins, widen those gaps, that gives you margin for error later in the year, because there will come a time where we will need margin for error. Absolutely will come a time when we will need margin for error, and we will absolutely do that. I hope, and we will hopefully start that tomorrow against Manchester United. Where else are we? Where else are we? Gaz Oak says, I've not been so confident yet so negative at the same time. We have to win. Exactly. I absolutely think, we don't have to win, but this is one of the ones whereby we win, we puff out our chest and we can go, right, this season is going the way we want it to. I'm going to keep on saying that we're buffer zone FC for me at the moment. That's what we are. We're buffer zone FC. We're holding on to the coattails. What we're doing at the moment is, if you think of a Formula One race, this is what I want to equate it to. We're a bit behind. We're hoping to maybe undercut a team. We're hoping a team is a bad pit stop in front of us. But what we got to do is we got to build a gap between us, so that if we need to go into the pits and get a new fresh set of tires, or something goes wrong, that we have that buffer zone behind us, yet still staying within striking distance of the teams at the top. That's my pragmatism at the moment. For me, Everything Villa says, I think the doubt surrounding Amarin's formation means Unai would have focused on our game rather than setting up around United's. For me, that's more positive. Yeah, well, I think they're going to go with three at the back. I just think that they will, because I think that with the players that they're missing, they're going to go with that, and they're going to go with the wing backs. And I think it's going to be Yoro, Aiden Heaven, and Luke Shaw, which, like, as I say, not taking anything away from Lenny or Lille, who was absolutely fantastic. There's a lot thought of him. There's a lot thought of Heaven. There's a lot thought of the goalkeeper there. But there's a lot of inexperience in there. And what one of the greatest strengths we have is players in their prime and players with experience. So hopefully that is the case. Where else am I going to scroll down here? John Steele says, United fans going on with Villa being in a false position. I hope their team underestimates us as much. The whole league is going on about us being in a false position. The whole league is going on about us. The whole narrative amongst what was it I heard? Somebody called one of them today, the Tacticos. Tacticos on Twitter is the false position. We're not in a false position. I'll tell you why we're not in a false position. We've won the games that we've won, and we're 3 points off the top of the league. So we're not in a false position. That's a bit of nonsense. I think. Then if that's the case, then you could talk about like Manchester United are the Manchester United are the inverse of us. You see social media posts the whole time about them having created the most big chances, having had the most shots on goal, the most XG. Well, why aren't they top of the league? And then why do they feel why do they feel good about their team? They're underperforming, and if they've got the best in the league, they won't perform any better than they're performing at the moment. Yet they're underperforming. So if Aston Villa are in this false position due to XG, which is based on historical information and not predictable future information at all, it's based on historical information. But we can get better then in that instance. If we're not creating those chances, wait till we do. Manchester United are creating all these chances, and the best they can muster is 8. They can't go any better. The top. Talk about false positions. Talk about false hope. I don't know. Like for me, it's like tomorrow the 3 points is all that matters. I say if Joshua Zirkzee takes a shot and it ricochets off Ezri Konsa's arse all the way back over Sam Lemons, ends up in the back of the net, Aston Villa will get no XG for that. Yet we will get 3 points if we win 1-0 for that goal. And that's football. That's the beauty of football. That is the beauty of football. That if you just distill it down to XG, if you just distill it down to things like second assists, that's another thing as well. Aston Villa don't have a lot of second assists. All that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Like, it matters if you look back at the end of the year and you've underperformed, and you can talk about where you could have performed better or what you're supposed to be doing better. But if Aston Villa win the league with the lowest XG, or if Aston Villa get into the Champions League with the lowest XG, doesn't matter. It's a thing of nothing. And like, it's just true. So I don't know. I don't know. Where else are we? Richie Ryan says Rodgers should on paper have loads of space to exploit tomorrow. This game would suit Watkins too, given there'll be 3 at the back and our quality defenders. Yeah, look, I'm not married to anybody starting this game. I'm not married to anybody being rested in this game. Well, actually, I am. I want Morgan Rodgers to play. But what I am married to here is just finding, we've had 7 days now. Find that cohesion. Find a good early start. I want a good start. Nice early goal would be nice. And just be really, really competent in the 3 phases of football. The transitions and in the 3 areas of the field. That's why I want to be really competent there. I want us to go and show our credentials of competency tomorrow. Show your credentials of that you are this mature team that everybody has started calling you in the last 2 weeks. Remember, everybody was calling you a stale team in the first 4 weeks of the season. Now they're calling you a mature team. Semantics have a really, really strange way of fitting somebody's narrative, and that's exactly what that is. If you ever want a clearer explanation of what narrative is, that's exactly it. But that's what we wanted to do today. Show a level of control in this game tomorrow. At home. Bring Christmas to the fans. It's going to be a sellout. Bring Christmas to the fans. And I don't mean bring Christmas to the fans with gung-ho, swashbuckling performance. It'd be great if we get that. Bring Christmas to the fans with a really competent, coherent, credible performance where you dominate possession, you dominate the game, you don't have any slip-ups, you don't have any mistakes, you limit our purple patches and look like that real mature professional team that Aston Villa have been over the last couple of weeks. I don't want another 2-0 down having to come back and win. Not at home. Definitely don't want that. We've done those. We've had our share of those. Again, we've had enough of those for it to be proven not to be a fluke as well, by the way. I want tomorrow to be that coherent performance, that nice professional performance. Get out of there, get into that game, fully focused, capitalize on the bodies that they're missing, win the game, and go and eat your Christmas dinner, safe in the knowledge that you have those as buffer zone FC. You have those 3 points as buffer zone FC towards the chasing pack. Right. I'm going to leave you guys at that. Apologies for my sound issues at the very, very start of the podcast. If you're listening back to this in audio, you probably won't know that they happened because I will edit those out. If you are watching this on YouTube, I do apologize. The first 2 or 3 minutes of this podcast were full of gremlins. But we will be back again tomorrow with team sheet tantrums and post-match reactions as well to this game tomorrow, where hopefully I will have the Cheshire Cat smile tomorrow with Aston Villa beating Manchester United. So go in, enjoy the rest of your Saturday evening, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.